listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk, Bobcat, Saloon radio show, live and direct right here in the SHR Media studio. There are a number of studios. Mine happens to be in Idaho. And so tonight, one time only, I will be your conservative Sherpa. And it's this guy. It's my duty, my job, to guide you through the terribly insidious maelstrom of Demorat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, bedlam, tyranny, and betrayal, and anything else that happens to be, well, terrible. But you have to understand that what you're about to hear for the next hour and a half or so, maybe an hour, hour and a half, consists of my opinion and my opinion only. I am doing the job that the American media maggots won't. I am fundamentally changing America one leftist diaper at a time. Just a reminder that we don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversation. We are still serving stiff drinks in the saloon, along with facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, clarity, context, tradition, and common sense. What do we talk about? Well, looks like politics. A lot. Religion, crime, culture, race, sex, science, law, and all points in between. We talk about everything right here in the saloon where the speech is free, but the booze is not. I wonder what's in here, BZ. I'm not sure. Oh God, my arm is killing me. I'm streaming right now a whole host of different places. As you can see, YouTube, the SHR Media YouTube channel. Also on X, numerous places on X, KLRN, Facebook, and shrmedia.com. And speaking of all of that good stuff right there, I want to remind everybody that tonight we're going to be talking about Congress. It turns out Congress hates actual Americans. And I shall go about, it won't take much convincing to prove to you that Congress hates actual Americans. So tonight we'll be speaking about that. We will have our carousel of amusing GURP. Not a lot of that. We're going to be talking about Republicans, and we're going to have some news and an update for Epic Fury, and maybe we don't talk about China. Every episode, it seems as though China, and possibly rightly so, gets pushed to the back of the line. Oh, a reminder, I should say, that this Thursday night, I'm going to be having Lyle Armstrong in the saloon. He of the Beer and Bullstein podcast. I was going to have him on last Sunday, but things didn't work out. So I'm going to have him on Thursday night. By the way, you can get great swag at the SHR Media Network at Mission Ready Men. I believe it's Mission Ready Men /content. Anyway, this is my Edge of Liberty shirt. You can get one yourself. And I'm wearing this shirt because tomorrow night, Sean from the Edge of Liberty podcast, to be seen right here on the SHR Media Network, will be on. He's on at my time, 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern. So my job is now to promote lots of folks because the SHR Media Network, gosh, Rooney, that's the place that you want to be. And the other thing that I want to tell you is that, wow, We have 1,240 subscribers, and we have gone up plus 1,240 plus subscribers. And we have increased by 240 plus subscribers in about not quite 3 months. So thanks to everybody who is watching or watching later on in podcast. And if you would please hit the subscribe button. And then also, if you would, click on that bell. There's a bell down below. And if you click on that, that makes sure that you get notifications for whichever SHR Media host you enjoy. And you'll get notifications that, hey, your greatest podcast bud is about to broadcast. You need to do that. And for those who have done so, I say thank you kindly. And if you would, while you're here, if you're not doing anything else, hey, if you would share the show kindly, live right now, to as many people as you want. Hey, if there are people that you hate, share it to them also, because sharing, as we all know, sharing is caring. Thanks for being here tonight. I want to provide a little moment of silence, if we could, for the airmen and airwomen that went down in the KC-135 during Operation Epic Fury. One KC-135 made it back, and the other did not. Also, a little bit of a Jake update. Jake is doing so much better. He's beginning to drink water on his own mostly every day. We still have to feed him in a syringe every once in a while, depending upon his inclinations. Maybe he'll eat on his own, maybe he won't. It used to be that he wanted milk and cookies before bedtime. When he did, he got milk and cookies, because we have, what do we have? Those super thick stuffed Oreos. I happen to be a fan of those. And then he likes them in milk cold. Oh, he wants them cold, really cold milk. If you do that and you put it down late at night, probably 50 to 60% of the time, he'll go for his milk and cookies. With Jake, though, man, you never really can tell with him. So I have a number of things that I'm going to go through tonight. I didn't plan to make it a full 2-hour show, if for no other reason than my shoulder is killing me. And there doesn't appear to be any kind of pill that is touching it these days. And my tinnitus is off the damn charts. So if I'm not as chipper and skipper as I customarily want to be, I'd be a hurtin' ringing Jesse right now. With luck, that'll go away by Thursday, because as I indicated, this gentleman, as I promoted, will be here, Lyle Armstrong, in the Saloon Thursday night. And I only have one item for bid for the Carousel of Amusing Gerp, but again, it's one of those things where people send me videos, and they are videos that are required by the Mossad or other surreptitious areas. Here's one. I think it's about an hour and a half. Let's see what we can see on this video.
We have breaking news for you this evening. It appears that Ayatollah Mustafa Khamenei, Iran's new supreme leader, is gay. This comes after his internet search history was leaked to the press, which shows he was Googling things like how to come out of the closet in Iran without being thrown off a roof, or how to watch Brokeback Mountain in Iran without getting caught by my father's Iranian Revolutionary Guard, or even things like, is that cute American gay guy Pete Buttigieg single? Anyway, oil prices.
And here it goes. Oh no. One. Oh! Sad. Very sad. Hey, it's Pete. Wait a minute. Is that his friend?
can dance too.
Just remember that people don't die. They live in your mind forever, which is also a large plus. There's also this. Now, as you may know, folks, today is St. Patty's Day. And this is Marco Rubio, standard Mark 1, Model 1, Marco Rubio on the left. And this is Marco O. Rubio today on the right. Sad thing about today is Ireland now, well, it was before, is clearly another capitalist nation. So I'm going to play about a minute of Ireland's moronic president, Catherine Connolly, who is clearly lacking like eyes and ears and brains, and as she goes out of her way to try to erase Irish history and traditions and culture, and she's concomitantly failing to see what's occurring in the UK and the EU with regard to Islam. I'll let her speak in her own words.
The story of Patrick's life serves as a reminder of the resilience and courage of migrants, the invaluable contributions that they have made and continue to make to the countries they now call home, sometimes even in the face of great adversity. Patrick's story speaks not only to the Ireland of the 5th century, but to the millions still subjected to trafficking, forced labour and displacement today. As we recall the life of Patrick, we invoke his spirit and acknowledge our shared responsibilities as global citizens. We stand in solidarity with those who find themselves in vulnerable and dangerous circumstances. Patrick's story invites us to respond with hospitality and kindness to those suffering the consequences of war and displacement.
Stop. I've had enough of that bullshit. This is another Gaup in female form, guilty, overeducated white people who has decided to piss all over St. Patty's Day. But this is what you get, however, in today's Ireland. No more, no less. I'm going to be going next to this story, which doesn't have a musical intro or so, but it is this. We're going to be going more and deeper into what happened today with regard to the Republicans and the SAVE Act and some votes, and who are, in fact, the rhino underminers, because there are way too many of them. So there was a vote today, and will continue. This is going to continue on for probably the rest of the week. This is the newest information that I have right now at this point. So this was sort of a preliminary vote thrown out there to see which way the prevailing prairie winds are blowing. So sometime this week, Congress is going to vote on the SAVE Act, or who knows, maybe they won't. Maybe it'll be tabled over the weekend and then they'll come back next Monday and do something about it. No one really knows at this point. But it's a guarantee that the aforementioned rhino assholes are going to vote against it. As I guaranteed, it's nothing more than a high, hearty fuck you to OMB, Orange Man Bad, Donald John Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head. And to you, actual Americans, it's to you. Mitch McConnell probably is going to go no. I'm only going on what was forecasted before. Now also, Tom Tillis. Now, Mitch McConnell, Kentucky. Tom Tillis, North Carolina. He's pretty much a definite no, with a caveat. Lisa Murkowski, she's oh, hell no. I'm not voting for the SAVE Act. And then Susan Collins of Maine. Murkowski, by the way, is from Alaska. And then Susan Collins in Maine, If there's one that votes one way, Collins, Murkowski, they usually vote the same way. One votes one way, the other one will latch on, and so on. There are 53 Republican senators. Every Demorat has stated unequivocally, including John Fetterman, that they're not going to be voting for the SAVE Act. Well, that sounds to me like a resonating current and present ability to circle wagons when that's necessary. Say what you will about Demorats, and they certainly fragment at times, but when the chips are down, the wagons will be circled appropriately. So it's a given. Every Demorat is going to vote nay on the SAVE Act. There's no simple majority about this, yet John Thune, leader John Thune of the Senate, from South Dakota, thanks South Dakotans, is going to end debate, invoking cloture, and that will be terminating all debate. And so when he does that, what most people realize, if you're into politics, is that means you're going to need a full 60 votes to pass the SAVE Act. You might be able to get by and squeak by with 51 if you get J.D. Vance in there on a filibuster, but then you'd have to go talking filibuster versus silent filibuster, and the filibuster is an entirely different animal anyway, and I don't have the wherewithal or the time to even remotely deal about that tonight. It's an 84% damned issue, folks, in America that Congress refuses to embrace. Not one Demorat. Not all of the Republicans, because some of them, I think, really are cheered by dropping a big loogie in the middle of the vodka. That's why I don't drink vodka in DC, for example, as everyone well knows. The SAVE Act is also, and another reason I hate DC, will you guys ever go with a clean damn bill? Apparently not. The SAVE Act is also packed with tags on mail-in ballots. Okay, that's another issue. And also with tranny issues. So again, I ask, can anyone please just send a single item clean bill and draft one and ship it, if you would, please? Plus, the other thing that has to be factored, because all these bastards and bastardettes, they're going to take their loving Easter recess here, and that's going to be about almost 10 days. Their recess is between March 30th and April 10th. No, I'm sorry, that's a full 12 days. Do you get 12 days for Easter? When I was working and not retired, I sure as hell didn't. I bet you don't either. So it's also, they're going to try to do this before the recess. You're going to have to take a couple of days to try to confirm Mark Wayne Mullen from South Dakota as DHS secretary. That starts tomorrow. That starts Wednesday. So you're going to have to try to get that in. You're going to have to try to pass the SAVE Act. The numbers are not adding up. And that's why I say, Congress, Congress hates actual Americans. That means you, and that means me. Now, could they, John Thune et al., have gone just 210 over 190 on filibusters? They had weeks to set this up. They've had weeks to destroy the filibuster. Demorats in the same position would have blown it up with Semtex weeks, months, perhaps even a year or more ago. It's not just what people term an 80-20 issue. It's an 84 to 85% issue all across the fruited plain with Americans, including independents. Isn't that weird? But and they are excuses, they're not reasons. But the excuses for this are, well, let's see. The standard. You come here for clarity, and here it is. Blacks are too stupid to understand what's going on. They're too stupid to figure out how to vote. Oh, and the women's are too stupid to figure out how to vote. Everything needs to be easy. Everything needs to, you need to be handed, the American, as far as Demorats are concerned, the American populace needs to be handed their pablum in a little bowl. Here, baby, drink, sup, do what we tell you, because we know better than you what to do, what to think, what to say. This, I say frequently, you can't write this stuff. Here's a minute and a half of Catherine Clark, Demorat, saying it's too hard for women to get documents and sign an affidavit at their polling place in order to vote. And she says she wants to see the stat that says 85% of Americans want voter ID. And this bint thinks women are dumb.
On the Save America Act, you said it's going to disenfranchise millions of women, but Senator Mike Lee said yesterday that there's actually a special provision in the bill now for those without documentation. So basically, no one gets excluded if they don't have the documentation. Does that change your stance on this?
Absolutely not. I don't know if Mike Lee is reading the same bill that we had in the House.
We took great pains to go out of our way to make sure that
Hey, look, it's Mike Lee.
No American would be left in the dark. Well, this will not cost them a dime, and no one will be excluded if they can't find their documentation.
But in the House, you still have to collect those documents, go in person to your election office.
Oh, no. Appearing in person. Oh, I swoon to think of oh my God, the physical requirements that are necessary to do that.
And sign an affidavit.
Oh, no. And the amount of physical strain that it takes to pick up a pen and sign something. Shocking.
Do you think that working people have how are we going to let people know about this change that the House said will be made?
TV, news, etc.
Immediately.
Social media.
Upon signature by the president. And how are people going to collect these documents and get down there? So I don't know what he's seeing as not a barrier. That's voter suppression of women who change their names.
Yeah. Here's something weird. Mrs. BZ had to do that. And you know what? If you want to continue as a woman with your first name, I know hundreds, I know thousands, and so do you, of women, if no other place in social media and on the Demorat side, when they marry, they don't take their husband's name. So do you have to? Is it written in law that you must? No. But then that's used as a somewhat ready excuse because the women's are too stupid to figure this crap out. And again, I don't have to write this stuff. And is it insulting to blacks that, oh, BZ, you're such a racist. Oh, BZ, you're such a misogynist. No, you know who the racists are? The Demorat Party. You know who the misogynists are? The Demorat Party. Historically, they have always been so. And so here's, for example, Demorat Amy Klobuchar, who's in the Senate, who said, and I speak leftist, so I'll translate. She says, the the Save America Act creates horrible, horrific hurdles for most Americans. It's so unreasonable. So like I say, I speak leftist, so I'll translate. Don't worry your pretty little idiot heads. We'll tell you, as I said, we'll tell you what to think and how to think because you lack the mental capacity to do anything like that.
What else does it do? It creates complicated and costly bureaucratic hurdles for Americans to either register to vote or to re-register if they're like those 69 million women who happened to decide to change their name when they got married.
That's the excuse. Well, let's see. Blacks are stupid and women are stupid. Any other cadre of people that you'd care to insult while you're at it? Probably most of them, and especially white males, because we're stupider than everybody else. By the way, who's not going to be voting for this? I put this up on the Sunday night show. I had an interesting Sunday night show that I just had to create because there was so much stuff backed up that I had. Oh, this is Lisa Murkowski from Alaska saying, oh, hell no, I will never vote for the SAVE Act.
Where do you stand on the Save America Act? Do you, support getting this legislation?
Wait, come on, think about it. Put on your thinking caps. What excuse is she going to provide for it's too onerous?
Legislation passed to protect elections?
I'm not as it is drafted, no.
Why not?
The implementation in a rural state like Alaska is going to disenfranchise an extraordinary majority. And while I support citizenship voting and voting ID, I want to make sure that it's implementable.
Where do you stand?
Right, because obviously the citizens of Alaska are themselves natives or not. It's very obvious you guys in Alaska are too stupid to vote. Well, who's smart enough to vote? Who does that leave remaining? Maybe the politicians themselves. So what happened a little bit earlier today? Well, a couple of toes were dipped into the senatorial waters early. And I think I have enough time to go over this before the bottom of the hour break. So a vote passed earlier today in the Senate at about 2 p.m. Pacific. And it was just to open debate on the SAVE Act. And we know that Demorats are going to coalesce around tanking it, period. That's a given. 60 votes are going to be required for passage. And John Thune has done his very level best to ensure failure. So what happened in this vote? To my way, as recent as I could find out, Lisa Murkowski voted against it. And then Tom Tillis, who swore that he was going to vote against it, he didn't even vote. And so it was 51 to 48. And they're going to talk about it. Yep. Okay. We'll listen.
On this vote, the yeas are 51, the nays are 48. The motion is agreed to.
But that's just to chat about it. That's not, well, we're going to take a vote. I don't think I've seen.
The yeas are 51, the nays are 48. The motion.
Quiet. I don't think I've seen Quisling, Chamberlain, disappointing rhinos like this when they have essentially the House and the Senate and they have the Oval Office and they're spineless and they're invertebrates and they're lazy and they're not interested in fighting.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Mission log entry. I mean, let's face it, who's even counting anymore? The Lost Wanderer is officially off course, chasing rogue rocket launches, fringe science, and things that probably violate causality. If it burns fuel, bends time, or makes scientists very uncomfortable, yeah, I'm probably going to talk about it. every other Sunday on KLRN Radio, The Lost Wanderer, because space doesn't come with a roadmap, and honestly, I wouldn't follow if it did.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? You need to check out Mission Ready Men via Earl Big E Jackson on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
First half hour down. Thanks for being here tonight. Thanks for watching live. Thanks for being in chat. And also, thank you for listening and watching later on in podcast. You can find the show on just about any podcast catcher in the nation, around the globe, and down inside the planet. That's truth. I'm telling you the truth. And so tonight, the point is, we're talking about Congress. They despise actual Americans. And why would I talk about that? Why would I say that? Voter ID support, yeah, we should. All voters, 84%. Demorats, 70%. Republicans, 96%. 84% for independents. 95% of Republicans say, yes, we support this. 71% of Demorats say, yes, we support this. And so what you need is a real ID, compliant ID showing citizenship. If you want to board an airplane, you already need a real ID or a passport. Now, people are saying, Demorats, leftists are saying, well, people can't get passports, and passports are $135. I don't have a passport. If I wanted to go up to Canada, which is about 90 miles north of me, I would need one. I haven't purchased one because I don't plan on going to Canada. You know what works for me, though? My real ID that I got in Califailure, that I had to show in order to acquire said ID. I had to show my birth certificate, and I had to show evidence of, well, this is where I live. Here, look, here are a couple of pieces of paper. that indicate that. And so what else? Government issued photo ID showing U.S. birth, some kind of a government issued photo with a birth certificate, and other proof of U.S. birth or naturalization documents, which, if you're an illegal but you're naturalized, then you should probably have that. And if you don't, shame on you. There are some responsibilities that should be attached to being an American. One of them is voting, and one of them is making sure that our voter integrity is kept and it's fair and the elections are not tampered with. And if people fail to see that, you and I both know Demorats want this because they want all the illegal invader votes possible. Now let's go. I mentioned Califailure. From where I am right now, let's go west to Califailure. Because if there's a single reason to pass the SAVE Act, Califailure is the poster child for that. So Newsom and all of his cronies, his Demorat supermajority cronies in the assembly, passed AB 930, 59-16, because it's a supermajority. And it's being, other blue states are thinking, well, this is damn skippy. We like this. So what that does is that extends the mail-in voting deadline by another week, another 7 days. Because, if you can't be bothered, allows illegal immigrants to serve on recount committees? What did Stalin say about those who vote versus those who count the votes? Permits election officials to appoint illegal immigrants to recount boards. Well, why wouldn't they vote for themselves if they're illegal invaders? Of course they would. It's all agendized and it's all biased. Gives mail-in ballots submitted on election day an additional 7 days to be counted. It wasn't that long ago, though I am ancient, where I can remember that there was a polling place down the street from me. They used to be held in people's homes. Garage door would come up, you'd come in, sign in, make a vote. And it would be a paper ballot. And you would know who won what election by the end of the day. And then here's the strangest thing, newspapers, you'd read about it the following morning as to, did your vote matter? Did your vote not matter? We used to be able to do, because we were just hicks and rubes. But we could come up with decisions regarding voting in a day. Can't do it anymore. So what that means is, do the 2020 math about all of that. Determine how many votes are going to be needed after election day to overthrow the federal, state, and local governments, and that provides you that necessary space cushion, the 7 days to figure out, okay, we need to pad this by 100,000 votes, 50 votes, 1 million votes. So do the BZ logical extension about that. So every single Republican in Califailure is officially on notice. If you don't pass the SAVE Act, you're going to get this crap all around the nation. And here's 2 minutes that I'm not going to play of Assemblyman DeMaio talking about this.
Member DeMaio, you were recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong opposition to AB 930. It does not modernize the way people vote. It adds the ability for non-citizens to serve as recount board members. I'm not sure why a non-citizen should have any business serving on a board overseeing a U.S. election. That's not how people vote.
Because that's how you cheat. So Califailure wants to cheat. Other blue states want to cheat. And if you don't stand up for yourself, Republicans, conservatives, and independents, you're going to get your fucking asses steamrollered. Okay. Now, Mike Lee has said that there may be some kind of a, I don't know, I think he called it a floor takeover tomorrow to force the talking filibuster and require Democrat staff to speak against the bill. Well, here's 40 seconds of this. This is what he has to say, and I'll remark in just a moment.
Now, word leaked earlier today, Senator, that Trump allies are planning a floor takeover. Now, what does that mean? I assume that's you. What does that mean, and how will that make it more likely that this becomes law?
I have absolutely no idea what a floor takeover means. But if a floor takeover means that we're going to make filibustering senators speak against this bill, heck yeah, I'm all for it. Let's do it. Let's take over the floor. I saw that phrase in a headline just a little while ago. I'm still confused as to what it means. But if it means enforce the talking filibuster, I'm all in.
Well, John Thune's not. Now, word.
So, again, this leads me to believe that there is still confusion on the part of the Republicans. And though it's nice to be able to say, it's nice to be able to envision something like this. You know, how many times have you been let down where you have to say, do I believe this? I can't say that I believe it. Time will tell. Now we're going to go into the portion of the show where I'm just going to talk about stories. And there are a lot to go into. This, I'm going to put this up, and you'll be able to see who hates this. But I watched this. Don't even remember what channel I was on. Might have been social media even. This is an actual campaign ad from a guy named Greg Dolezal. No, he's not married to the crazy black-white chick who's nuts. But this is Greg Dolezal in Georgia. And I have to agree with it 100%. But I was kind of gobsmacked that it actually got out in any form whatsoever. I agree with it. I'm shocked that it even came out, but I have to agree with it. Here's another story that I saw just about an hour prior to the show, and that's this. No water for ICE. Utilities to planned Georgia detention center are cut off. Now, there's a little town in Georgia called Social Circle. You heard that right. That's an actual town. I didn't make it up. Don't have to. The city of Social Circle has taken a new step in its debate with the federal government over a detention center in the facility. So, city manager Eric Taylor said the city planned to challenge detention center plans by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and apparently approved them, but that the city was considering all actions available to us at this point to stop this from happening. And their reasoning is, well, it's a challenge to the water users. Now, it's okay if you have say an AI center, if it sucks up tons of water. That's okay. But anything to do with detention, and especially in a leftist blue area like Social Circle, and a city manager named Eric Taylor, well, guess what? Social Circle cut off water and sewer services at the warehouse turned detention center, and they put a lock on the water meter. So guaranteed. What do you think is going to happen in the future? Anything cheap, undermining, etc., to ensure that sanctuary cities, sanctuary areas, sanctuary counties and states are unfucked with. Now, CNN also had a disastrous, a terrible week last week. You know, my new budgie training channel on YouTube gets more views than CNN does these days. But I have a list, a partial list, not a complete and full list, of at least the number of recorded hoaxes that people can remember in the past. And there's a guy called @Nolte NC, North Carolina, who compiled this post and these hoaxes. Let me put it on right there. Now, you can, if you wish, you can find all the articles and videos that I have used tonight on my Rumble channel at BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show, where I display all my show links. I don't do that on YouTube because YouTube doesn't have the room to do that. Again, I just remind you, if you want to see all the details in this, and I know the words are little teeny on portrait and they're still pretty damn teeny on landscape, you can go to my Rumble channel for every show. But let me just give you an example of some of these. The rural America can't live without NPR hoax. The ICE detains a 5-year-old hoax. The Hegseth kills everybody hoax. Trump destroying the White House hoax. Photo of starving Gaza baby hoax. Israeli troops murdered food-seeking Palestinians hoax. Trump tariffs will explode prices hoax. Maryland man hoax. Black newborns much more likely to die if the doc is white hoax ad nauseum. So go to the my Rumble channel, BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, and you'll be able to read all of these hoaxes. It's been a bad week for CNN, and it probably won't be getting any better. If I had the time, and I can see right now I'm not going to have the time to do this and talk about China, but there was one issue that I recently became cognizant of with regard to China and regard to the American media maggots. So I moved it up to the front of the stage. And again, I apologize for the small letters, so I'll just read this to you. Foreign media outlets linked to Chinese propaganda inserts. In the United States, let's tick down the numbers here. New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, LA Times, Houston Chronicle, Seattle Times, Boston Globe, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Des Moines Register, Foreign Policy, CQ Roll Call Time Magazine. In the UK, the Daily Telegraph, the Guardian, Daily Mail. In Europe, Le Figaro, Handelsblatt, Süddeutsche Zeitung, El País. And in Asia Pacific, the Sydney Morning Herald and Mainichi Shinbun. Money behind the propaganda, about $7 to $10 billion per year. Estimated total Chinese global propaganda spending. And about, let's say, 11 million spent on U.S. newspaper advertising alone just in 2016 to 2020. And $20+ million spent influencing U.S. media since 2017 through advertising and inserts. And that, as you can see, is why I have called them the American media maggots for years. Because they are. Like pirates, because they are. And also CNN is covering the collapse in approval for congressional Demorats because somebody somewhere in CNN pushes them just a bit.
Are voters feeling about Democrats right now?
Yeah, I mean, Democrats in the minds of the American public are lower than the Dead Sea. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look. The net approval rating for Democrats in Congress, you said it, Kate Baldwin, the lowest ever. Look at this. Overall, they are 55 points underwater. Their approval rating is south of 20%. It's even worse when you look at independents. Look at this. Negative 61 points. That means that their approval rating is 61 points lower than their disapproval rating. Quinnipiac has been polling this question for the better part of the 21st century. They have never found Democrats, at least those in Congress, in worse shape than they are right now.
So, however, some of you Republicans may have decided, well, I'm going to crow about this. What a wonderful thing this is. With a huge caveat. And the caveat is this, and I've said this any number of times on the show, and to people that'll listen to me, because you should. What Demorats say or think or whatever kind of fucked up ideas they have or ways to cloward, pivot every aspect of society. And oh, they're plummeting. They're taking such a beating. You know what? It doesn't matter. It's immaterial. It's like what you see with the Republicans right now. Unless you can coalesce and circle wagons like John Thune and some of the major other Republicans are not doing, all of this, your ability to present logic and statistics and common sense, it doesn't mean shit. You know what means something? How well you cheat for votes and how well you get out the people to vote. Historically, and particularly in terms of the midterms, the people inhabiting the Oval Office don't do that historically well. And so some people are envisioning, it's going to be a blue tsunami. Maybe somebody should write a song about that, blue tsunami. But my point, none of what anybody is saying about Demorats, they're terrible, they're mean, they're awful, they're nasty, doesn't mean shit. The only thing that means anything is the Stalin viewpoint. Who counts the votes? That's important. We've seen that before, have we not? Who cheats with greater efficacy? That's more important. And who floods the polls with voters? Because, again, what do we know about Republicans? I learned this in 1966 from my civics teacher in high school, Mr. Harms. Said it so many times, people still don't understand the concept. True then, true now. Demorats don't win elections. Republicans lose them. And it happens to be true. Here's another story about the EU. You know, we're talking about the EU. This is a minute video. The EU's human rights chairman was caught with 600,000 euros of cash in his apartment. He admitted it. 300 attempts to manipulate the European Parliament. 4 million pounds or euros from Qatar and Morocco. And so before I play the video, about a minute or so, this is the same EU that, as I have indicated, historically has been taking fiscal and political advantage of our, meaning the United States, our largesse and our kindness since 1945. And they have continuously refused to pay their fair share through NATO until 45 got present. They sneered at America and they thumbed their nose at us because they could, because they crowed that their social support systems were so much superior to anything that we had. And how did that come about? Well, that's because we sent money to NATO for their defense, Europe. We paid for their rich social welfare programs and their models and their continental defense as well. We footed the bill. You, me, the American taxpayer, using our hard-earned American taxpayer dollars. And now, of course, you know recently that they have told the United States that we can go to hell with regard to Iran, when in fact all of Europe and the EU and the UK benefits from Iran and its lovely little concomitant terror groups being whacked, killed, exterminated. I'm going to have a story later on in the damn it, I am going to go into a second hour. I didn't want to because my shoulder is still killing me, damn it. Anyway, let's put this up.
A former European Parliament human rights chairman just admitted he was paid by foreign governments to corrupt democracy. And yes, this is a real story. Antonio Panzeri is an Italian politician who chaired the Human Rights Subcommittee. After leaving office, he founded an NGO called Fight Impunity. And the irony completely writes itself, because the chairman of this NGO, so Antonio, got caught by the police with 600,000 euros of cash in his Brussels apartment. In January 2023, he took a plea deal. He admitted to corrupting EU officials for both Qatar and Morocco. He had 300 attempts to manipulate the European Parliament. And this was no small operation. More than 4 million euros were used to influence outcomes for these countries. And not only he was arrested, his wife and daughter were arrested by the police as well. And of course, the judicial system is a complete joke in Europe, because he got 5 years in prison, 4 of them were suspended, and he walked free with an ankle bracelet in the end. Completely ridiculous, and this just shows again how insanely corrupt the European Union is. It's incredibly important to understand that this is the most corrupt institution on earth. Well, after Zelensky, maybe. Follow the money, follow Mees Wijnands down below.
After the United States, after Minnesota, and after Califailure. It's getting to the point where you have to have a ranking system and a syllabus in order to understand who is more corrupt this week than the previous week. You need something to be able to tell all the players apart, because there frequently isn't a dime's worth of difference between anyone and everyone in terms of corruption. Speaking of corruption, we can see now that corruption in communism has yielded fabulous results, as it has in history over at least the past 100 years or so. More, actually. 100 million people, I think that's way under. I'd say 150 million people have been slaughtered because of communism. So Cuba is entering its second night of no power. And there are people that are saying, oh my God, why aren't we going to Cuba and helping them and saving them and sending them generators? Fuck Cuba. They made their own decisions. They're all adults. They're a sovereign nation until they began affecting everybody else. And back in 1962, 1963, Russia decided that they were going to place missiles in Cuba, 90 miles away from Florida. That got nixed. We almost went DEFCON 1 on that, baby. I can remember my father to this day thinking, and only told me later, we were this close to nuclear war. And unless backroom deals had been executed, that might have actually occurred. I'm from the day when you were a kid, and we were taught that there were CD places to go, civil defense. There were rooms. There were all sorts of little signs on blocks in each town in the city. Civil defense, bunker here, enter here. And we had to practice getting under our desks for the big one coming in. You had to stay away from the windows, kids. Get under your desk, kids, because that'll certainly assure your survival, because communism has been so wonderful. So here's 20 seconds of communism. There were blackouts for 2 days, 3 days, I think, before this. And now it's almost total. It's almost complete, total blackout chaos. There are some generators that apparently they're also in some buildings, and sooner or later they're going to do what? Yeah, they're going to run out of fuel for those things. And then there's protesters, because now the protesters and the citizens who have put up with this for so long, they're starting to demand that their leaders leave the country. Now, when they do, and I think I said this on SHR, some form of media, I have dibs on the powder blue and white 1954 Chevy Bel Air that I see right over there with the curb feelers and the fender skirts. That's mine. Everybody, you keep your damn hands off. Kind of looks like Iran, doesn't it? kind of looks like Venezuela, doesn't it? Well, there's a reason for that. Gee, I wonder what it could be. Possibly. What do you think?
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
In a world where leftists are running out of metal for the safety pins of their soothing red diapers, one man stands alone, attempting to fundamentally change America, one leftist diaper at a time. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, is guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat leftists and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Listen to BZ Saloon on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern on the SHR Media YouTube channel, Twitch, KLRN, Rumble, and X at BZ Saloon. It's one great late-night conservatarian talk radio show. Be there. Aloha.
Hello, friends. You have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name is Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRN Radio.
It's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Just like the Bidens, I too am moving. Only in my case, it's days and times. That's right, you can now find the Edge of Liberty Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on 11 Eastern on the SHR Media Network. Join me as we talk politics, news, alcohol, fun, not so much fun, clowns, small kittens, large kittens, dogs, amoebas, and anything else that just pops into my mind while I'm on the air. That is Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, on YouTube, X, KLRN Radio, Facebook, Twitch, and anywhere else a good podcast is found. Please check out our website, shrmedia.com. I will see you live on the air.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It's the beginning of the second hour. I think what I'm going to do tonight is have a few more stories, and then I'm going to wrap up. The shoulder's not doing all that well, and I'm running out of patience. The meds are not working all that well, so you have to know when to say when, and this is my when. We're going to talk, have a few more stories about taxes and leftists, etc. And I will read this because the letters are pretty much too small. So Philadelphia Demorat mayor decides that what she's going to do is unveil her new $6.9 billion billion dollar budget proposal. And so, that would contain a lot of taxes, don't you think? Of course it would. New tax on all orders that get delivered to your home, like Uber Eats, food and baby products and meds, they're excluded. But if you want to have the convenience of something delivered to you, chompy, well, that's going to be a new tax. Rideshare tax, hotel tax, tax on out-of-city merchants selling items in Philadelphia. Let's hear somebody talk about that.
Mayor Sherelle Parker halfway through her first term and at the beginning of a process selling her plans on how to spend city money for the next year.
It's a bold set of strategic investments and actually what I believe is a roadmap to a safer, cleaner, and greener Philadelphia.
The mayor today inside city council chambers, highlighting what her administration has done so far and what she says should come next.
So I speak leftist, and my tolerance for this kind of crap is pretty much gone. Investments equal taxes. And this is predicated upon, let's see, what Virginia did. Okay, so Virginia said that what they're going to do is they're going to tax fewer small taxpayers required to make estimated payments. And localities, there's going to be a plastic bag tax. Localities can impose a 5 cent per single-use plastic bag at stores. And several cities and counties have already gone there, just like Califailure, because it's only a small consumer tax designed to eliminate waste. And Virginia's tax on gasoline, for example, is now 41.6 cents per gallon. But the higher fuel costs are going to fund infrastructure. Just like Gavin Newsom said in Califailure, we're going to be funding infrastructure, which none of that went to infrastructure. That was Virginia. And then we knew this was coming. Now, Virginia just came out, and I'm going to be going into this in depth Thursday. And as a reminder, on Thursday, my guest is going to be Lyle Armstrong from Beer and Bullstein. And being the military guy that he is, we're going to be talking about guns. But here's a funny thing, and this is going to be my last story for the night. We knew that this was coming. Now, there are a host of new laws against firearms in Virginia. But isn't this weird? I will leave you with this to ponder. Then Virginia Demorats themselves, after coming out with all these onerous new gun laws, the likes of which we'll discuss later, I've decided that, they voted. They didn't just decide, they voted to exempt themselves from new gun control measures, the same ones that they're imposing on you. Just remember, laws are only for us underlings, us proles, subjects, serfs, menials, us, the lowly rabble, not our superior rulers who know much, much better than us how we require constant and continuous oppression. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media YouTube channel, on Rumble, on X, on Twitch, and the wonderfully grandiose KLRN, and lots of other bulbous podcast locales. I would customarily have a whole bunch of other people that would include promotions, etc. But you know what I'm going to do for tonight? I'm just going to make an exemption and an exception, because today, my broadcast day has ended. Good night.